Hey, this is Daniel Posney. This is called Shifting Perspectives, and today I want to talk about moving from anxiety to peace. And I just recently did a sound healing for a client, and he said, after that sound healing or during that sound healing, he had only had two other times in his life when he got to that place of complete stillness, altered state of consciousness, no thought, no any physical kind of thing, just being in that complete awareness. And I feel like that's what we look for sometimes, is getting some kind of a reference point of what that feels like. Otherwise we think that it's normal to be in anxiety, and the world kind of tells us that it's okay to be in this anxiety. You got to go, and if you get tired, drink some coffee and get some caffeine, and makes it all normal, until we get a place that we find that other people in the world just live naturally. They're in this natural peace, and you go, why you're so peaceful, and how do I become like you? But we can get to that place ourselves. And I want to give you some spiritual insight with this as normal, but I also want to give you some practical things that you can do. And this is not going to be the same thing that you hear before in other things where you can count to 5, you can do these things. Those are all valid tools, but they're all band-aids to make it seem like you're getting somewhere. But the real problem isn't that you have anxiety. The real problem is that you believe your thoughts that want to make you believe that you are the one with anxiety. You get that? So there's this idea that you have these thoughts and these beliefs about yourself and about the world, and it presents it to you so often and so much, it manipulates you into believing that you are that person that has the anxiety. But stay with me here. You are the one that's behind that, that's observing that. So when you start looking at yourself, you start to inquire. So there's this choice that needs to be made. Instead of just accepting these thoughts and these beliefs and these anxious moments, that you actually say, well, wait a minute, I don't really believe that that's who I am, or I want to change that. And if you have a sincere desire to change it, then there's got to be a choice to kind of confront it and kind of look at it and start to do what they call self-inquiry. And all that is it's questioning the stuff that comes up, the ideas that you have about yourself. And what it happens invariably is that if you really look at this stuff honestly, you'll start to uncover little by little things that don't really make sense or aren't completely true, like every man or woman has cheated on me. That's just what that's my reality. Well, if you really were to take this to court and really look at it, you'd probably find that, well, there may have been a few that they betrayed you or cheated on you, but maybe they didn't even cheat on you, that you actually were both kind of not talking about, that you weren't really in the relationship. If you really got serious about it, then you'd find that there's some real, not really high truth about what you've been believing all this time. So some of it may be real, and that stuff that is looked at in a different way. But for the majority that we hold these beliefs, here's how the mind works. You go through a movie or a book or your life, and the majority of it could be amazing, but you get to the ending and it sucks, or it's not what you were expecting. Your mind basically says the whole book, movie, or your life sucked. And so your mind isn't really looking at truth, it's looking at itself to kind of perpetuate the story. So knowing all this, you look at these beliefs that you have and you start looking at them, and what happens. So this is the practice. You look at this, whatever the thing is, and you go, oh wow, it's not 100% true. And you take that little bit and you blow into the embers of that little tiny fire of, so people, not everyone betrays me. And before your mind comes in with, yeah, but blah, 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 you fan the little embers of that little tiny fire because you want to, because it's good for you, because it makes you happy. But your mind is here as this second thing that wants to stop you from doing it. And it's right there that you kind of recognize, look what's been happening. Every time I had a moment that was looking up, my own mind brought me back down again. And that's the practice, is to know when that comes in. So normally the mind comes back and it convinces us otherwise, to not look at this, to not look towards peace, or not look into the actual truth of things. It pulls us back with some idea that manipulates us. But the fact that you notice it is so huge. It's so huge to find that moment. This is what happens in session with me a lot of times. We'll get to this high place of understanding, and we're vibrating this high consciousness and truth and love, and then they go, yeah, but Daniel. So it's like once they get like a second to contemplate, it's like it's an open space for the mind to come in and recontrol everything. And that's just what happens. So this process is just as the little seeds or the little embers of a new, higher understanding or some truth that you fan that fire, man. You just fan it and let it kind of just grow into itself. And then what happens that you'll find another moment, another truth, and you add that to the fire, and you blow that, and it starts to grow, and you just kind of cultivate this fire like you're trying to cultivate a fire in the winter time in the mountains. It's that kind of thing that you bless it, you fill it with love and everything, that you make sure it has enough oxygen and fuel and all that. If that's the kind of what you need to do, is you kind of need to really care for it and really love it, because this is something that's going to be the fire inside of you, that renewed fire of spirit, soul, love, God, creator, source energy, all those things. But it needs to have some more fuel, so you keep on looking inside of yourself and finding these new discoveries. And that's what leads you out of the mind, which is the place, the land of anxiety, into the place of peace, which is the heart, which is this presence. And it's like that guy was saying, when he was in the sound of crystal bowls and didgeridoo and gong and all these different instruments that I play, the mind wasn't there. And it is such a peaceful place. And I let him know that place that he found, which is just not asleep but not awake, this kind of in-between place of complete stillness, that is reality. Check that out. That is the only reality. Everything beyond that wants to go forward, or wants to go to the left, or wants to go to the right, or wants to move in some direction, is now getting away from reality. So you start moving into the creation of the mind and the distortion of that reality, and that's what we call life. But when you find your place in this really completely, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's this stillness, this loving awareness. There's all these different names for it, but you've probably felt it at some point. You're on top of a rock, or maybe you just had a life crisis, or maybe you were almost drowned, or you got rescued or something. It's that moment of complete right here, right now. That's the reality. So there is no reality beyond the now. So if you want to go a little deeper in this, more of a kind of a expanded view of this, so once you know that this is the work, is to inquire about these thoughts and these beliefs, and then kind of fan the fire of that, then you start to look into, okay, what is really real? And all the things are real to me because the feelings and experiences and emotions are all interpretations of my mind. Questioning what gives you anxiety, and just know that the anxiety that you've been experiencing is not who you are. It came in at a certain time. It was not who you were when you were in the womb. Is not who you were when you were probably a baby. Something got created from some trauma or perceived trauma, which the mind kicked in, and it said, I've got this from here, I'm going to take over. And we call that anxiety, but it's really living in the mind of the thoughts and the beliefs and the judgments and all that. But like Ram Dass says, let the thoughts and the judgments and the beliefs of the mind be thoughts and judgments and beliefs of the mind. And you get to be the awareness of those things behind all that. You exist in the awareness behind all that. So you are this amazing, just present awareness. So go ahead and close your eyes if you want to, and we'll just go into this. Think about that, how that feels when you say to yourself, So, okay. And imagine that you're just staying in that openness, that for some reason the mind hasn't come in and sabotaged the whole thing, and you're still in that, so, and you get to just float in that, and you're expecting something to come in and sabotage it, but it never does. And you know that usually your mind comes in and tries to distract you, but you're getting more and more used to the fact that you are this. Just being here. And then the mind might start to creep in, and that's completely okay. But what is it trying to creep into? What is it trying to sabotage? It's trying to get into this presence, into this loving awareness. And then as it does a little bit, it starts to present you a thought, and then you have a choice. You have a choice to be distracted by that and follow that and then let it just run down that path, or you can just take a deep breath and start all over again. Just go into your body and check out your body, check out your shoulders, see if they're relaxed. Notice the sounds that are around you. Notice your big toe on your left foot. Now find yourself, your center, or wherever your awareness is. And what we usually get used to is that it's behind my eyes. So as I look through my eyes, I see the world. But pull back behind that. Now see yourself as moving through the body. Instead of just seeing through the eyes, imagine that you're actually, you're the awareness behind the body. And the body is out there in the world. And if you wanted to see yourself, you'd have to either look in the mirror or you have to project your arms and legs outward so that you could see them. Now imagine that behind your body is actually nothing. It's like a screen that's being projected out in front. And everywhere you turn, that screen moves its position. But there's nothing actually behind you except a mind of consciousness projecting all this outward. Isn't that a wild thought? That there is a projector projecting your body and the world and the whole reality out in front of you. And see how the mind wants to come in now, wants to say, oh, this is too complicated or this is too much. But come back. You have a choice. You have a choice right now to just play with this. What if that is? And what if everything just works out? What if everything works out? What if I don't use my mind to change my life as much as I tap into my heart and tap into my consciousness? I tap into that center, that place that is ineffable, indestructible, unknowable. And if I get one little glimmer, one little piece of that, doesn't matter how tiny it is, a mustard seed, fan that flame, blow into those embers. because that tiny little ember is the source of you. And you're having the experience of blowing into those embers and bringing that back up and fanning that flame and then adding more to it. And then eventually, once that flame gets going and you know who you are and know your reality and you've uncovered all these false beliefs or wrong conclusions, you get to sit around that fire with other consciousness, with other beings on that same frequency. You get to all sit around that fire. And nothing needs to be said. And you just exchange glances with each other. And you might just giggle with each other. Huh. Wow. And then you go back into your life. You go and create. You go and do. You go and experience. But you go into it with more of a clarity. And you have fun and you have adventures and it's crazy and stuff comes up. But it doesn't take you down like it did before. It's beautiful. And you wonder, how did I get here? And how do I share this with someone? Well, the most important thing is that you experience it to the fullest. There's really no one to tell. I don't need to do this video. But you're experiencing it. And your experience of life changes. And you're not so worried about death. You're not so worried about what other people think and say, because it only applied to you if you had a reaction. But as you uncover these things and you find out these wrong conclusions and you heal them and you integrate them, things don't upset you like they did before because they're just not true for you. Like our friend Bashar would say, if your favorite color is blue and someone comes up and says, I hate what you're wearing, I hate red. You go, I don't know how to respond to that. It doesn't apply to me. But if you got pissed off and said, well, but I like red. I know I'm wearing blue, but I like red and you upset me. Then there's something to work on. Where does that come from? What is it making you feel? And you do that for the things that upset you. And you grow and you start to be more and more clear. And it's really fun and empowering. And it doesn't mean that you're a guru, doesn't mean that you're enlightened, doesn't mean that you have to do anything or fix anything or become anything. You just get to be happy. And people start saying things like, God, you're something about you. Got this bright light, or the word is authentic. You get to be authentic. Damn it. You get to be authentic. You get to be who you're meant to be. Not what made you strong or what made you built character or the type A. No, before all that, before the world changed you and conditioned you, your original divine blueprint. If you aren't aligned with that divine blueprint, and it's not something that you could think about to find out what that is, it's your essence. If you aren't aligned with that, things are just, it's a struggle. And you try and do things out in the world to make up for it. And it's still a struggle. It's hard to be happy, hard to be healthy. So I love that. Thank you, Ram Dass.